By now, you haven't figured out how to distinguish the noise from the signal. You never will. These tariffs are noise. They're negotiating tactics. It's the beginning of a negotiation. That's what it is. Each country's a different story. So India, it's cars. Germany, it's car parts. Canada, it's resources. Mexico, it's illegal immigration. This guy is doing what he knows best, to negotiate. You may not like his style. You didn't like it 12 years ago. You're not going to like it now. But he has been elected President of the United States with a majority mandate for at least the next 2 years. Get over it and get used to it. And he's going to continue to do this. And it's a great opportunity to solve a lot of problems. These tariffs will never, ever be put in place long term. Never.
Let's cut through the economic hysteria for a second. Those terrifying headlines about trade wars, the panic over tariffs, it's all one giant game of geopolitical poker, and America just went all in. From Canadian lumber to Indian motorcycles, Mexican steel to German cars, the White House is dealing out targeted trade pain like a blackjack dealer on a hot streak. But here's what the Chicken Littles won't tell you. This isn't an economic apocalypse. It's the art of the deal playing out on the world's biggest stage. Kevin O'Leary, the Shark Tank legend, sees right through the smoke and mirrors. Wake up and smell the negotiation, he'd say. These tariffs aren't some policy disaster. They're strategic chess moves, each one calibrated to hit a different pressure point. That 24% tariff on Indian motorcycles, a wake-up call. The squeeze on German auto parts, a power play. The Mexican standoff, classic hardball. O'Leary would tell you straight. If you're still getting spooked by these opening moves, you don't understand how high-stakes diplomacy really works. The reality is more fascinating than the headlines suggest. We're watching a master negotiator work his unconventional magic, using short-term pain for long-term gain. Will it be messy? Absolutely. Will some industries feel the pinch? No doubt. But for those with the guts to see past the daily drama, there's opportunity brewing beneath the surface. Because when the dust settles, these trade wars might just deliver the most significant global economic reset in decades. Now the real question is, are you going to fall for the hype or position yourself for what comes next? Let's watch clips from Kevin O'Leary's explosive commentary. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for additional in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the video.
Now, Michael Saylor is talking his book, all right? The guy sells stock and pref shares and debt and then buys Bitcoin with it. The stock trades at twice the value of the inherent Bitcoin. That smells like something that ain't going to work long term. Just saying. I like the guy, but it has nothing to do with strategic reserve of Bitcoin, which will never happen because we'll never get buy-off on a bipartisan basis. However, what will happen will be a stablecoin bill that will allow the American dollar to be digitized all around the world. USDC, of which I'm a shareholder, so I'm just disclosing, but there's others. We'll get a law that says if you can prove that you can take $1 trillion US and back them into a stablecoin like USDC or anything else, we can trade that all around the world, because let me tell you something. Every commodity on earth, including all those ones up in Canada, are traded in US dollars. And the cost of transferring US dollars from one country to another is prohibitive, and it's held by the banks. So Jamie Dimon never wants to see this happen because he sucks 2% out of you in fees. And so that's never going to, if you did a USDC, it's 1 basis point of cost to move the US dollar around the world. So that's going to happen. And I'm right about this. You just lost that one, Mooch. But the point is, in democracy, and it's a dirty little secret, there's a lot of fat in government. It drips like a chicken with fat. All these stupid programs that you're hearing about now have been built up over decades by various governments. And it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat or Independent, there's fat on the bone. And this is the first time someone independently has gone in there and said, let's go discover the fat. He does not have executional control. He's simply pointing it out. He has his own network of billions of people called X, formerly Twitter, and saying, look what I found here, look what I found here, look what I found here. Even if he's wrong 20% of the time, that's 80% right. And everybody should realize the government is really inefficient because they don't really give a shit about your money because they're only there for 4 years. So This is a good thing, and great stuff will happen from it. He will embarrass these agencies into either closing themselves down or figuring out a way to stop wasting this money. It's your money. It's your money. Your money. I would negotiate the deal with Canada. I would do that deal. I would do that deal because I believe in a giant economic union, a behemoth economy, and I've taken a lot of shit for this in Canada because I took Danielle Smith down to meet Trump, which is what I believe is why she only got a 10% tariff, not 25, because she had the guts to go and meet with him. But I think the future against the Chinese economy is to create a behemoth economy with the power that Canada has and all the natural resources and the giant, large, mega U.S. economy. You don't have to sell sovereignty, but you have to do something like they did in Europe. And you create a uni-passport and a common currency and no tariffs whatsoever, and you tell everybody around the world, don't with us. I think we're at a unique time in history. Canada, unfortunately, has been ruled for the last 9 years by an idiot king. And his policies destroyed the wealth of Canadians from parity on the dollar to the U.S. down 41%. They can't even go to Disneyland anymore. And the idiot king is still there. There's going to be an election in the next 90 days. I begged Trump to wait. It didn't happen. But the idea was to wait until a mandate was secured by a new leader. It looks like it'll be a guy named Pierre Poilievre. And then he could negotiate with his peer. There is 13% of Canadians are willing to consider giving up their citizenship, become Americans. That's not enough to do that. But 43% want to explore some kind of an economic union. And to me, it can get to way past 50%. If you ask Canadians tonight, 11 out of 10 would rather change their Trudeau pesos into American dollars like that because it's been destroyed by the idiot king. And so the key here is, what can we do together that makes us both better? Instead of fighting about the 49th parallel, let's worry about the Chinese cruising around to the north, where they're digging out minerals up there, and the Russians. And let's spend 2%. Canadians have not done that yet. The new leadership will probably say, look, to solve all this tariff warfare, we'll go to 2% on NATO, and let's get NORAD back up and running to show the Chinese there's no way they can come from the north, or the Russians. Russians, I don't really care about that much. That's a tiny economy, smaller than Italy. But the Chinese, you don't want to mess with those guys. And we got to protect ourselves.
That's time.
The financial world is buzzing with Michael Saylor's high-stakes Bitcoin gamble, but let's call it what it is: a shell game with alarming math. While the MicroStrategy CEO converts company assets into Bitcoin at a dizzying pace, his stock somehow trades at double the underlying crypto value. It's a precarious balancing act that smells like financial alchemy rather than sound strategy. But while this Bitcoin circus plays out, a far more consequential revolution is brewing: the imminent digitization of the US dollar. Forget partisan Bitcoin dreams. Washington's real power move will be stablecoin legislation that could see USDC and other dollar-backed tokens become the new global financial rails, slashing cross-border transaction costs from Wall Street's 2% VIG to a mere basis point. This isn't just about technology, it's about breaking the banking oligopoly that's been skimming off global trade for decades. Meanwhile, a different kind of audit is exposing rot in the halls of government. The dirty little secret? Our bureaucracies are marbled with decades of accumulated fat, wasteful programs, redundant agencies, and inefficiencies that persist regardless of which party holds power. Through the megaphone of his social media empire, one maverick is forcing sunlight on these festering problems, exposing the absurdities with viral precision. Even if only 80% of the allegations stick, that's enough to spark long overdue reforms in a system where career politicians have treated taxpayer money like monopoly currency. While Kevin O'Leary breaks down the raw, tactical maneuvers of high-stakes trade negotiations, another voice brings a broader lens to the conversation. Anthony Scaramucci zooms out from the poker table and examines the entire geopolitical casino, from Bitcoin to bipartisan reform and North American integration. Let's watch more clips from the interview.
I think David Sachs actually did something brilliant by delaying
through executive action, a potential strategic Bitcoin reserve. Because if you listen to David Sachs, he wants a bipartisan commitment to something like that. And what he feared was if Donald Trump and his team did it on their own unilaterally, then if a Democrat got into power, they would potentially reverse it for no reason other than the partisanship. And so the next 6 months are mission critical for that bill. And I'll just say three quick things very quickly. Number one, we have 27 reserves. It's not just oil and gold. Kevin knows this because he's from Canada. There's a lot of trace minerals and there's a lot of important things in, well, it's still Canada, so we'll call it Canada. I'm team Elon on a lot of things. Even though I don't like certain processes that are taking place with Doge, I think he is the right guy to do it. We live in a democracy, so I would like a few more systems in place to check what he's doing. But I am team Elon on SpaceX, and I'm fully disclosed an owner of SpaceX, and I'm team Elon on Tesla and things like that. On this particular topic, Sam has the advantage now. Now, Elon's upset about that, and maybe there was something that happened where he doesn't deserve the advantage, but he has the advantage now. And so if you're a securities analyst or you're someone analyzing where things are going to go, there will be a moat starting to build, a very thick moat starting to build around Sam's business. And so I'll make a prediction. They will cut a deal with Elon. It'll be sort of a Greenmail-like deal. And so if there's people here in the 80s who remember what Greenmail is, Elon's putting forward a potential takeover. I think they'll settle with Elon for billions of dollars and get him on side on ChatGPT. That's my prediction. I'm worried about Doge. I certainly, if you asked anybody in this room, is there fraud in the government potentially? Is there excess spending in the government? I think the obvious answer is yes. Do we want to cut that? We want to make the government more accountable to the American taxpayer? The answer is yes. But I'm telling you, we live in a democracy, and so you want to do this with a bipartisan commitment. And I'll give you an example from the 1990s. Bill Clinton started this process in 1993. Over the 8 years, he cut 351,000 federal jobs. He did it in a bipartisan way. He delayered the bureaucracy and saved about 3% of the budget per year, and it compounded out to the end of his term where we ran a $240 billion budget surplus. Last budget surplus for the United States was in the year 2000. So I am a pro-democracy person. Every single person in this country has benefited from our system, the decentralized nature of our system, and we've been protected by the fact that we don't have a unitary system or too much of an expansion of executive power. And so I'm personally worried about it, but I do like Doge, and I respect Elon, and I hope we can get some systems in place around it. I would change the Constitution. There are 27 amendments to this Constitution. We have not had an amendment of any meaning since the 1965 Civil Rights Voting Act. We had a 93 amendment that was procedural. 2 amendments. Number one, I would end Citizens United. People understand what that is. As money has poured into the system. We've created an oligarchy on both sides, not just one side. And then the second thing I would do is I would end gerrymandering. And so I would just submit to you, I would like you to think about this. We're in a supposed democracy, but the candidates are picking the voters. The voters are not picking the candidates. And we need to make it look like the geometric shapes that we all would recognize from 9th grade geometry, not the current jigsaw puzzle situation that we have right now. So 2 constitutional amendments, and then you can cancel me. No problem. No, Canada should not become the 51st state of the Union. The North American continent has done way better than the South American continent. There's a great book about this by a guy named David Landis. It's called The Wealth and Poverty of Nations. Why did the North American continent do so much better than South America, where they have the same resources, the same coastlines roughly, the same amount of minerals and oil? It has to do with our legal system, and it has to do with the integrity of a democracy. And if the Canadian people want to be independent, and I believe they do, if you look at the polling, they certainly do, we should leave it like that. We should work with them. Kevin brought up something about an economic protectorate, which I certainly agree with. But I think most Canadians want to have their own national identity, and I don't think the United States should go back to 18th century imperialism and force something on the Canadians that they themselves don't want. It's just it's a recipe for disaster. No, they're not going to be good for us. They're tax increases, what they are. They're consumption-based taxes, and they're not going to be good for us. And the way the president sells them to people is very misguided. He makes people believe that the countries are getting charged the tariffs, but they're not. And the other thing that happens, and I think Kevin knows this, you get a lot of gaming in the system. And so you put the tariffs on China, they manufacture 49% of the good, they ship it to Vietnam, they complete it in Vietnam with their own people, and then they ship it to the United States unfettered by the tariffs. And so we would be better off with a fairer, cleaner system. One last thing is very important for people to understand. The countries were made uneven by design. We were trying to raise living standards around the world, and if you raise living standards around the world, you get greater peace and you get greater prosperity. You can study any level of diplomacy to understand that, and that's the reason why these tariffs in certain cases were asymmetrical. So people seem tired about it. Some people are shaking their heads. They disagree with me, but I'm telling you, the world looks at America very differently than Americans look at America. And they look at us as a beacon of hope, and they look at us as a symbol of help. And I don't think we want to change that, okay? That's my honest opinion.
Meanwhile, the approach taken regarding a potential Bitcoin reserve highlights the importance of establishing durable, bipartisan frameworks rather than unilateral actions that could be reversed with shifting political winds. This measured strategy recognizes that major financial policies require a broad consensus to achieve lasting stability. In technology and innovation leadership, different entities currently hold advantages in specific domains. While one organization leads in AI development at this time, the competitive landscape remains dynamic, with potential for strategic partnerships or realignments that could reshape market positions. Regarding government efficiency, historical precedents demonstrate that sustainable reform requires careful, collaborative approaches rather than abrupt changes. The successful fiscal consolidation of the 1990s illustrates how measured, bipartisan efforts can yield significant budgetary improvements. In international relations, North American economic integration presents opportunities for enhanced cooperation while respecting national sovereignty. The economic success of the region compared to others can be attributed to stable institutions and governance systems that have fostered development. Trade policy requires nuanced approaches. While tariffs may aim to address imbalances, they can lead to market distortions and evasion strategies. More comprehensive trade frameworks that promote fair competition while supporting global economic development may prove more effective in the long term. These complex policy challenges require solutions that balance national interests with global responsibilities, recognizing America's influential role in the international system. Thoughtful, forward-looking approaches can address immediate concerns while positioning for sustainable, shared prosperity. As we wrap up, whose strategy do you trust more in today's volatile world, O'Leary's hard-nosed deal-making or Scaramucci's long-game diplomacy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.